Please, Daniel, I am your mother.
Mom, I have already made my decision.
Daniel, please.
My decision is final.
Please, your wife is lying against me. How can I steal from her bag? What will I be doing with 5 million naira? Where do you want me to go?
I will give you money to rent a place.
You are sending me out of the house you built for me?
It is not that simple.
Then explain it to me. I raised you when your father died. I sold food to pay your school fees. I worked day and night so you could become the man you are today. Daniel, don't let her manipulate you again. Manipulate him? Yes. You have always wanted to control my husband. I never wanted to control him. I only wanted peace.
Enough, Mom. Please go. I don't want to push you.
One day, Daniel, you will discover the truth.
Please, Daniel, I am your mother. Grace stood at the massive entrance of her son's mansion with an old traveling bag trembling in her hands. Beside her stood her two daughters, Ada and Favor. Ada was 24 years old. Favor was 22. Both young women were crying. Their university certificates had barely become old before their lives suddenly changed. Only a few months earlier, they had celebrated their graduation with their mother and their elder brother. They had believed the family was finally entering its best season. But now, they stood outside the mansion with their belongings, wondering where they would sleep that night. Daniel stood in front of them. He was wearing an expensive shirt and trousers, but his face was unusually hard. Behind him stood his wife, Amara. Amara folded her arms across her chest. She looked completely comfortable, almost satisfied. Grace stared at her son. "Mom," Daniel said quietly, "I have already made my decision." Grace's voice trembled. "Where do you want me to go?" "I will give you money to rent a place." Grace looked around the mansion. The beautiful house, the large compound, the expensive cars parked outside. The house had been built by Daniel, but Daniel had once told her that it belonged to her too. Grace slowly looked back at him. "You are sending me out of the house you built for me?" Daniel swallowed. "It is not that simple." "Then explain it to me." Daniel remained silent. Grace stepped closer. "My son, look at me." Daniel reluctantly raised his eyes. "I raised you." "I know, Mom." "I carried you when you were sick." "I know." "I worked day and night after your father died." "I know." "I sold the only piece of land I had so you could finish university." Daniel's eyes became wet. "I know, Mom." Grace shook her head. "No, Daniel. If you truly knew, you would not be doing this to me." Amara immediately stepped forward. "Daniel, don't let her manipulate you again." Grace turned toward her. "Manipulate him?" "Yes, that is what you have always done." Grace stared at her in disbelief. "I have never manipulated my son. You have always wanted him to choose you over me." "That is not true. Then why are you crying?" Grace's voice broke. "Because my son is throwing me out of his house." Amara scoffed. "Exactly. You want him to feel guilty." Daniel closed his eyes. "Please, both of you, stop." Grace looked at him. "Daniel," he said. "Stop, Mom." Grace became silent. For several seconds, nobody spoke. The only sound was the distant hum of a generator. Finally, Daniel said, "Please, go." Grace looked at her son for a long time. She seemed to be searching his face for the little boy she had raised, the boy who used to sleep beside her when thunder frightened him, the boy who once cried because she had not eaten, the boy who promised he would build her a beautiful house one day. But that boy seemed to have disappeared. Grace nodded slowly. Okay, my son. She lifted her old bag. Ada immediately began crying. Mommy! Grace touched her daughter's shoulder. Don't cry. But where are we going? Grace looked at both daughters. Wherever God takes us. Favor wiped her tears. Daniel looked away. He could not bear to watch his mother leave. Grace took a few steps toward the gate. Then she stopped. Daniel, he looked at her. I did not steal your wife's money. Daniel's face tightened. I know what you believe, but I didn't do it. Amara rolled her eyes. Grace continued. One day you will discover the truth. Daniel said nothing. Grace nodded. God bless you, my son. Then she walked out. She did not know that those would be some of the last words she would ever speak to him. And Daniel did not know that the moment he allowed his mother to walk away would become the greatest regret of his life. Daniel had not always been wealthy. There was a time when his family lived in a small old house with a leaking roof. Whenever it rained heavily, Grace would place buckets around the room. Sometimes the rain was so heavy that the children had to move their mattresses away from the leaking areas. Daniel, Ada, and Favor would sit close together while their mother tried to stop the water from entering. Their father had died when Daniel was 17. His death changed everything. There was no savings, there was no large inheritance, there was no wealthy relative waiting to help. There was only Grace. Suddenly, she became both mother and father to 3 children. She sold cooked food by the roadside. She washed clothes for wealthy families. Sometimes she cleaned offices late at night. She would return home exhausted, but whenever her children asked if she was tired, she always smiled. No. Mommy, your feet are swollen. I am fine. You haven't eaten. I ate earlier. But the children did not know the truth. Many nights, Grace went to bed hungry. She simply wanted her children to eat. One evening, Daniel noticed that his mother had given him the last piece of meat. Mom, take it. Grace shook her head. I don't eat meat. Daniel laughed. You love meat. Grace smiled. Today I don't. Daniel watched her carefully. Mommy, you haven't eaten. I am not hungry. But he knew she was lying. He eventually discovered that his mother had not eaten anything that night. He cried. Mommy, why would you do that? Grace hugged him. Because you are my son. Daniel wiped his tears. But you need food too. Grace smiled. Your success is my reward. Those words stayed with him. When Daniel gained admission to university, Grace sold a small piece of land she had inherited from her father. Daniel protested immediately. Mom, don't sell it. How will we pay your school fees? I can work. You will work after you finish school. But that land is all you have. Grace smiled. What is land compared to your future? She sold it. Daniel completed university. He found a job. Then he started a small construction business. At first, he had only 1 employee. He worked from morning until late at night. Sometimes he slept in his office. There were days when clients refused to pay. There were days when he had no money to pay his workers. But Grace kept encouraging him. Don't give up. Mom, I am tired. Rest and continue. What if the business fails? It will not. How do you know? Because I know my son. Daniel worked harder. 1 contract became 2, 2 became 5, 5 became 20. His company began receiving major construction contracts. Money started coming. Daniel bought his first car, then another. He purchased land. He bought properties. Eventually, he became one of the most successful young businessmen in his city, and he never forgot his mother. He built a huge mansion. It had several bedrooms, a large compound, a swimming pool, a beautiful garden, and a massive dining room. The day Grace entered the house, she cried. "Mom," Daniel said, "this house is yours." Grace touched the walls. "My son, you suffered enough." Daniel hugged her. "From today, you will never struggle again." Grace smiled through her tears. "All I ever wanted was for my children to be successful." Daniel held her tightly. "I will never abandon you." Unfortunately, he would later break that promise. When Daniel met Amara, he believed he had found the perfect woman. She was beautiful. She was confident. She was charming. She knew exactly what to say and when to say it. When Daniel introduced her to Grace, Amara knelt down. "Mommy Grace, please accept me as your daughter." Grace quickly lifted her. "Don't kneel before me." Amara smiled. "I want you to love me." Grace hugged her. "I already do." For the first few months, everything was peaceful. Amara cooked. Grace helped her in the kitchen. They went shopping together. Grace gave Amara advice about marriage. She even told her friends, "My son's wife is a good woman." Grace genuinely loved Amara. She never imagined that this woman would eventually become the reason her own son would turn against her. But slowly, Amara began to change. At first, it was small things. "Mommy Grace, why do you always sit in the living room?" Grace would laugh. "Because it is my son's house." Amara would become quiet. Another day, she complained to Daniel, "Your mother spends too much." Daniel frowned. "Spends too much on what?" "She keeps asking for things." "What things?" "Food, medicine, clothes." Daniel laughed. "She's my mother." Amara smiled. "I know." But she didn't mean it. She wanted Grace gone, and she wanted Daniel completely to herself. One morning, Grace entered the kitchen. She was hungry. She saw Amara preparing breakfast. "Good morning, my daughter." Amara barely looked at her. "Morning." "Can I help you?" "No." Grace stood quietly. After a few minutes, Amara took a plate of rice and stew. Grace smiled. "Thank you." But instead of placing it on the dining table, Amara dropped the plate on the floor. Grace froze. She stared at the plate. Then she stared at Amara. "What are you doing?" "Your food." Grace looked at the floor. "Why is it on the floor?" "Because that is where you will eat." Grace's heart broke. "But there is a dining table." Amara shrugged. "Then don't eat." Grace stood there silently. She could have shouted. She could have called Daniel. She could have walked away. But she remembered her son's happiness. She didn't want to become the reason his marriage failed. So she slowly lowered herself onto the floor. Her knees hurt. Her back hurt. She picked up the plate. She began eating. Tears silently rolled down her cheeks. She wiped them quickly. She did not want Amara to see how much she had hurt her. Then footsteps approached. Daniel entered the kitchen. "Mom, good morning." Grace quickly wiped her face. "Good morning, my son." Daniel looked at her. "Why are you sitting on the floor?" Before Grace could answer, Amara quickly said, "She likes eating there." Daniel laughed. "Mom, you should have told me I needed a chair." Grace looked at her son. She wanted to tell him everything. She wanted to say, "Your wife is humiliating me." She wanted to tell him about the food. She wanted to tell him about the insults. But she swallowed the words. "It's okay, my son." Daniel smiled and walked away. Amara looked at Grace. There was a small smile on her face. She knew she had gotten away with it. Grace looked down at the plate. A tear dropped into her food. She quietly wiped it away and continued eating. After that day, Amara became bolder. She accused Grace of taking money. She accused Ada of borrowing her clothes without permission. She accused Favor of disrespecting her. Every evening, Daniel returned home to a new complaint. "Your mother doesn't like me. Your sisters think they own this house. Your mother is trying to control our marriage. Daniel became frustrated. One night, he confronted Grace. Mom, why can't you and Amara get along? Grace looked at him. I have tried. Then try harder. I am not the one causing the problem. Daniel frowned. Please don't say that. Why? Because she is my wife. Grace sighed. And I am your mother. Daniel became quiet. Grace continued softly. I don't want to fight with your wife. Then everything will be fine. Grace nodded. Okay. She decided to remain silent. She did not know that her silence would cost her dearly. Years of sacrifice finally paid off. Ada graduated with a degree in accounting. Favor completed nursing school. Grace was overjoyed. My children! She hugged them both. I have made you proud. Ada laughed. Mommy, we couldn't have done it without you. Favor added, you paid our fees even when you had nothing. Grace smiled. I only did what a mother should do. Daniel was happy too. He bought Ada a laptop. He bought Favor a beautiful wristwatch. For one evening, the entire family laughed together. Grace prepared food. Ada told stories about university. Favor teased her sister. Daniel laughed. For a moment, it looked as if nothing could destroy them. But Amara was not happy. That night, she confronted Daniel. Your sisters need to leave. Daniel looked surprised. What? They have finished school. So they should move out. They are looking for jobs. They're adults. Daniel sighed. Amara, give them some time. No. Please, no. She crossed her arms. This is my home. Daniel became angry. And they are my sisters. Amara looked directly into his eyes. Then choose. Choose what? Your family or me? Daniel stared at her. Why are you doing this? Because I am tired. Tired of what? Sharing my husband with people who don't respect me. Daniel shook his head. My sisters have never disrespected you. Amara turned away. If they stay, I will leave. Daniel became silent. He loved his wife. He loved his family. But instead of investigating the real problem, he made the worst decision of his life. The next day, Daniel called Ada and Favor. You need to start looking for another place. Ada stared at him. Brother, why? You are both graduates now. We know you need to become independent. Favor's eyes filled with tears. Is this because of Amara? Daniel did not answer. Ada shook her head. We have done nothing to her. I know. Then why are you sending us away? Daniel looked uncomfortable. I don't want problems in my marriage. Grace overheard them. She entered the room. Daniel. He turned. Mom, please don't send them away. They need to leave. They just finished school. I will give them money for rent. Grace stared at him. Is money all they need? Daniel remained silent. Grace's voice trembled. What happened to the family we used to have? Daniel looked away. Amara appeared behind him. They are leaving. Grace looked at her. Amara, please. No. Grace looked at Daniel. He said, pack your things. Grace's heart shattered. The day they were supposed to leave, Amara suddenly screamed from the bedroom, My money! Daniel ran upstairs. What happened? My 5 million naira is missing. Daniel froze. 5 million? Yes. Where did you keep it? In my wardrobe. Are you sure? Yes. Amara started crying. I knew this would happen. Daniel looked confused. What? Your mother and sisters have access to the house. Grace walked into the room. What is going on? Amara pointed at her. My money is missing. Grace stared at her. And? You took it. Grace gasped. Me? Yes, I would never steal from my own son. Ada stepped forward. Don't accuse our mother, Favor added. You have no proof, Amara shouted. Then where is my money? Grace looked at Daniel. My son, look at me. Daniel did. I swear before God, I did not take anything. Daniel was torn. He wanted to believe his mother. He remembered all the sacrifices she had made. But Amara was crying. She held his shirt. Daniel, if you don't trust me, then our marriage is over. Daniel closed his eyes. Grace watched him. She knew what was coming. Finally, Daniel whispered, Mom? Yes? Please leave. Grace's face became expressionless. You believe her? Daniel couldn't answer. Grace nodded. Okay. She picked up her bag. Ada and Favor followed her. At the gate, Grace turned around. My son, Daniel looked at her. I did not steal her money. I know. No, you don't. Grace wiped her tears. But God knows. Then she walked away. Life became difficult. Grace rented a tiny room. Ada and Favor stayed with her. Ada found a temporary accounting job. Favor began working at a small clinic. Grace returned to selling food. Her once soft hands became rough again. The beautiful clothes she had worn in Daniel's mansion were replaced by simple wrappers. She no longer had servants. She no longer had a large kitchen. She had one small room, but she kept telling her daughters, "We will survive." Her health slowly deteriorated. One evening, Ada noticed her mother coughing. "Mommy, you need to see a doctor." "I am fine." "You've been saying that for weeks." Grace smiled. "I don't want to waste money. You are our mother." Grace looked at her daughters. "I only want both of you to succeed." Favor began crying. "Mommy, we miss the way things used to be." Grace sighed. "Don't hate your brother. He threw us away. He was deceived. He believed his wife over you." Grace looked down. "Your brother is not a bad person. He hurt you." "I know." "Then why do you defend him?" Grace smiled sadly. "Because he is still my son." Favor wiped her tears. "Mommy, after everything he did?" Grace nodded. "A mother can be hurt by a child and still love that child." Months later, Daniel returned home unexpectedly. He found Amara searching through an old handbag. "What are you doing?" Amara jumped. "Nothing." Daniel looked at the envelope in her hand. "What is that?" "Nothing." "Give it to me." She refused. Daniel took it. Inside was a bank withdrawal receipt, 5 million naira. Daniel stared at the date. His heart stopped. It was the same day Amara claimed the money had disappeared. He looked at her. "You withdrew this money?" Amara became silent. "Answer me." She began crying. "Daniel, you accused my mother of stealing 5 million naira. I was angry. You lied to me. I only wanted you to myself." Daniel stepped backward. "You destroyed my family because you wanted me to yourself? I am sorry. Where is the money?" "I spent some of it." Daniel's eyes filled with anger. He suddenly remembered everything. His mother's plate on the floor, her tears, her silence, her old bag, the day he threw her out. He grabbed his phone. He called Ada. No answer. He called Favor. No answer. Then he called the hospital. "Hello? I am looking for Grace." The nurse became quiet. "Sir, are you her son?" "Yes." "I'm sorry." Daniel's heart began racing. "What happened?" "Your mother passed away this morning." The phone slipped from his hand. No. He stared at the floor. No. Amara covered her mouth. Daniel looked at her. You killed my mother with your lies. Daniel drove to the hospital. He ran through the corridor. Mom! He entered the room. Grace was lying peacefully on the bed. He walked toward her. Mom! He touched her hand. It was cold. He fell to his knees. No! He began crying. Mom, please wake up. Nothing. I know the truth now. His voice broke. I know everything. But Grace could no longer hear him. Ada stood behind him crying. Favor held her sister. Daniel looked at them. Why didn't you tell me she was sick? Ada cried. We tried. Favor added. Amara blocked our numbers. Daniel covered his face. He finally understood. He had allowed another person come between him and the woman who gave him everything. And now there was nothing he could do. He looked at his mother's face. Mom, please. Silence. I'm sorry. Silence. I should have protected you. Silence. The one person he desperately wanted to hear him was the one person who could no longer answer. At Grace's funeral, Daniel stood beside her. Coffin. Thousands of people came. Neighbors talked about her kindness. One elderly woman said, Your mother helped me when I had nothing. Another said, she was always giving food to people. Another elderly man told Daniel, Your mother was a good woman. She never spoke badly about you. Daniel could barely listen. All he could think about was the last time he saw his mother, standing at his mansion gate, holding an old bag, crying, telling him she did not steal. He fell to his knees. Mom, forgive me. His sisters cried beside him. Daniel continued, I chose a lie over the woman who sacrificed everything for me. Then an elderly neighbor approached. My son. Daniel looked up. Your mother gave me this before she died. She handed him a small envelope. Daniel opened it. Inside was a letter. His hands shook as he read. My son Daniel, if you are reading this, I am probably gone. I don't want you to spend your life hating yourself. I know you were confused. I know you loved your wife. I only ask you to take care of your sisters. And please remember something. Never allow anyone to make you hate the people who sacrificed for you. I forgive you. Your mother, Grace. Daniel could no longer control himself. He pressed the letter against his chest. Mom! He screamed. Mom! But there was no answer. Only the sound of people crying around him. Daniel remained beside the coffin for a long time. He refused to leave. Finally, Ada touched his shoulder. Brother, she forgave you. Daniel shook his head. But I didn't forgive myself. After the funeral, Daniel confronted Amara. She finally confessed everything. She admitted that she had withdrawn the 5 million naira herself. She admitted that Grace never stole anything. She admitted that she had lied about Ada. She admitted that she had lied about Favor. She admitted that she deliberately created problems because she wanted Daniel to herself. Daniel divorced her, but nothing could bring his mother back. He brought Ada and Favor back into the mansion. He gave them everything they needed. He told them, this house belongs to all of us. Ada looked around. This is where Mommy used to live. Daniel nodded. I know. Favor looked at him. Brother, she would have wanted us to forgive you. Daniel's eyes filled with tears. I know, but the mansion no longer felt like home. Every room reminded him of Grace. The chair where she used to sit, the garden where she used to pray, the kitchen where she once prepared food for everyone, the dining table, and most painfully, the kitchen floor. One evening, Daniel sat alone at the dining table. His eyes moved toward the kitchen, and he remembered his mother, sitting on the floor, eating rice from a plate, trying not to cry, trying to protect him, trying to keep peace. Daniel covered his face. Mom! There was no response. He whispered, I should have listened. From that day forward, Daniel changed. He created a foundation in his mother's name. He began helping widows. He paid school fees for poor children. He supported elderly women. He helped young people who had no money to complete school. He also made sure that no elderly woman who came to him for help would ever have to eat on the floor. Whenever someone praised him, he always said, I am only trying to do what I should have done when my mother was alive. He never stopped regretting his decision, because he finally learned something money could never teach him. A mansion can be rebuilt. Money can be replaced. A business can recover. A marriage can end. But when a mother dies, you cannot buy another mother. You cannot turn back time, and you cannot apologize to someone who is no longer there to hear you. Never allow another person to turn you against the people who sacrificed for you. Before believing an accusation, investigate. Before judging, listen to both sides. Before throwing someone away, ask yourself if you will regret it when they are gone. Because sometimes the person being accused is innocent, and sometimes the person crying the loudest is the person hiding the truth. Most importantly, never humiliate the person who stood beside you when you had nothing. Grace had nothing when Daniel was growing up, but she gave him everything. She gave him food when she was hungry. She gave him education when she had no money. She gave him her land. She gave him her youth. She gave him her strength. And when he became wealthy, she never asked him for a mansion. She only wanted her children to be happy. Yet, Daniel allowed one person's lies to make him forget all her sacrifices. He discovered the truth, but he discovered it too late. So if your mother is still alive, appreciate her. If your father is still alive, appreciate him. If someone sacrificed for you when you had nothing, don't wait until their funeral before you realize their value. Call them, visit them, ask how they are doing, give them a hug, say thank you. Because the greatest regret is not always what we did. Sometimes it is what we failed to do while we still had the chance. And Daniel's greatest regret would always be the same. He had a chance to protect his mother, but he believed a lie instead. Maybe you have watched this story and remembered someone in your own family. Maybe you have experienced a situation where somebody lied about you. Maybe you have been judged without being given the opportunity to explain yourself. And perhaps this story has reminded you that we should never be too quick to condemn someone. Let us learn from Daniel's mistake. Let us learn to listen. Let us learn to investigate. Let us learn to forgive. And most importantly, let us appreciate the people who love us while they are still here. Because sometimes an apology that comes tomorrow may be too late. Sometimes the phone call we keep postponing may be the call we wish we had made. And sometimes the person we think will always be there may suddenly be gone. If this story touched your heart, please don't just watch and leave. Subscribe to this channel for more powerful African family stories filled with betrayal, sacrifice, forgiveness, consequences, emotional twists, and important life lessons. Please turn on the notification bell so you will be notified whenever we upload a new story. And I want you to answer this question in the comments. If you were Daniel, would you ever forgive yourself after discovering the truth about your mother when it was already too late? Would you have believed the wife, or would you have investigated before throwing your mother and sisters out of the mansion? Tell me your honest opinion in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, share it with your friends and family. Someone may need to hear this lesson today. Don't forget, never wait until someone is gone before you realize how precious they were. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for staying until the end. Thank you for supporting this channel. Subscribe now, turn on the notification bell, and come back for our next emotional African story. Until our next story, may we never discover the truth when it is already too late.